Hello and welcome back to Racing Through Radio. I'm your host, Sam Moore, and I'm here to talk to you all about what's happening over at Ransomville Speedway. I would typically tell you all about what happened on this past Friday, but I don't really have a past Friday to talk about. I mean, it rained. It was the second rain out of the season, but luckily most of us saw the rain coming, so there was no heartbreaking, soul-crushing defeat from the inability to race. It was just a night that got washed away. Racers and fans alike were looking for something to do on their Friday night. I personally spent the 7 hours of my life that would have gone towards racing and worked on, well, if I'm being honest, it was racing-related stuff, but not all of us have a fun hobby to do on our days off. And anyways, the show had to go on. So I'm going to fill a few minutes of my radio show in with talking about not only things that are related to Ransomville Speedway, but the northeastern dirt track racing scene. One of the things I really wanted to talk about was the Thursday night karts. I personally didn't know a whole lot about Thursday night karts until my interviews with Ryan Susi and Greg Martin about 2 weeks ago, and I honestly think it's a super cool thing that the track does. Not only is it just for younger drivers that might be a little too young to drive on Friday nights, but there's some older drivers there that just prefer to drive a kart over the big heavy cars on Friday nights. There are like kids as young as 7 or 8, I believe, and adults racing karts. And they're all sorted by age, so you don't have to worry about your dad's friend outracing some 10-year-old just because he doesn't have anything else to do. I think it's a super cool extracurricular to get your kid into when they're at that age. Like, how many kids did you know in elementary school that were racing? I'll tell you how many I knew. I knew one, and I've already interviewed him this season. I probably knew like 100 kids playing soccer, though. I have no idea how younger drivers like that even get comfortable in the vehicle. I get a lot of them probably have parents who race and all that good stuff, and Greg and Ryan do a good job with the rules and the safety, so I doubt there's any sort of risk for them when they're driving. But some of these kids are young, learning how to drive and race a car before I learned how to ride a bike. For those who know me, that probably isn't much of a surprise, but let me be real for a moment. I'm 23 and I get white-knuckle nervous thinking about driving 5 miles over the speed limit, so I could not imagine myself driving around on one of those little carts. I have a lot of respect for people who can, though. To drive fast and to drive safe, that is just not me. But that's okay. Every sport needs fans. I mean, I would gladly take a foam finger and a funky racing tee every day of the week over sitting in one of those driver's seats myself.
Ready to take your home from the pits to the winner's circle? Rendell Painting and Renovation Services has the crew that will get you there. One call does it all. 845-5544. Race fans, take a pit stop at the Thousand Islands Cruet for olive oils and vinegars that will bring the taste of victory right to your kitchen. Dress your salads, marinate your meats. Visit them online, thecruet.com.
This week, racing lost a legend. Modified race car driver of the iconic number 9, Barefoot Bob McCreadie, passed away May 15th at 74 after a lengthy fight with illness. He grew up in the Watertown area, which I thought was really cool because not only is that where my dad grew up, but it's where I spent a lot of time hanging out in college. Over a 35-year career, he pulled out 507 career wins at 56 different tracks. 10 of those wins were at Ransomville Speedway. He was able to win 5 Summer Nationals, 2 Super Dirt Car Series titles, 2 Mr. Dirt Modifieds, and is in multiple Dirt Track Racing Hall of Fames. In 1987, he won a total of 47 times in one season. Honestly, I would be lying if I said I knew a lot about McCreadie. Unfortunately, he stopped racing when I was about 5 years old, long before I got into racing. But just getting to really read about him and to hear what those around him had to say about him made me wish I got into racing sooner, or was born a little bit earlier so that I could get to know his legacy a little bit better. One of my favorite things to read about him was about his nickname, Barefoot Bob McCreadie. Well, the story was that in his homemade cockpit for his Plymouth Barracuda, it was so tight that he couldn't wedge his right foot past the transmission leakage to get to the accelerator with his shoe on, so instead, he would just drive barefoot. McCreadie claims that he actually got the nickname due to many summers spent in his life running around barefoot and bare-chested. It seemed like the more I read about him, the more he reminded me of people I knew. Summers spent running around at the lake, going all across town with no shoes, barefoot just for the fun of it. He lived for racing. It made him happy. He has 3 kids, Tim, Tyre, and Jordan, 2 of which carry on his legacy through driving. And my heart truly goes out to his family. He sounds like an amazing person, and I'm sure those around him felt the same way. He was such a legend that, added to our schedule for next week, the Crown Undercoating 358 Modifieds will be racing a 9-lap heat in honor of the memory of Barefoot Bob McCreadie. One of his largest racing achievements came with the Super Dirt Week of 1986. October 12th, he would win the then Miller American 200. 60,000 fans stood there cheering in the New York State Fairgrounds witnessing this win. Winning a race like that requires an insane amount of skill. An amount of skill he never seemed to lose. McCreadie was one of the most popular drivers in the sport, even after his retirement. His connection to the fans was simply unreplaceable. In his retirement, he had no regrets of the career he put together. The name McCreadie simply became synonymous with big block racing. His son Tim followed in his father's track, becoming a standout big block modified driver, and now stars in National Dirt Late Model racing, while his brother, Jordan, became a competitive racer in the big block modified division.
Failed start on your home improvement project? Brendel Painting and Remodeling Services are here. Let them take you to the finish line. One call does it all. 845-5544. Need a pit stop for flavor? Stop in to the Thousand Islands Cruet for olive oils and vinegars to marinate your meats and elevate your eats. Find your checkered flag flavor online at thecruet.com.
The Performance Manufacturing Karting Series got underway this past Thursday night with their 2024 season opener, with 99 cars in total signed up. I thought that was super cool because that's actually more cars than we had lined up for our Friday night opener. Take that, consistently rainy Fridays. A lot of good racing went on, and it left us with our first winners for the year. Colin Spadarico won the main event for the Mike Berry Motors Senior Heavy. Riley Bloomingdale picked up the win for the Fisher Auto Repair Senior Lights. Aiden Resnick won the Frontier Auto Wrecking Junior 3 feature event. Jack Kotris picked up the win for the Bud's Apple Pie Junior 2. Jack Holmes won the main event for the Planter Box Direct Junior 1. And lastly, the Reed's Drive-In Novice Division ran 3 feature events, which saw Clark Magruder, Dale Radowski, Easton Kotris scoring some victories. And another thing I'd like to bring to your attention is Thursday night kart racing is completely free to come out and watch. So, if you're ever looking for anything to do on a Thursday night, pack up the kids, the grandkids, your friends, whoever, and just come and swing by. Who knows, you might find your new favorite up-and-coming Friday night driver on a Thursday night. You could inspire some of the kids you know to get out there. Cards continue Thursday, May 23rd, featuring a full card of Performance Manufacturing Karting Series. Racing, as always, gets underway at 7:15 and grandstands open at 6 p.m. Due to the rain, the Sue Kulak Street Stock Memorial Race has been slotted in next week alongside the Blake Shaffey Mini Stock Memorial Race for this up-and-coming Friday. So there's going to be a lot of love for these families in the stands, and I highly suggest coming out just to support the families and watch some racing. The sportsman lineups have been based on the test tune-in time, with the front row being locked in for the feature event. Racing on May 24th will get underway at 7:15 with the grandstands opening at 6 p.m. and the pits gate opening at 5 p.m. I'm hoping that this week is a little less rain and a little bit more sun, as I would personally like to get back on the track, getting to talk to drivers, and just getting to watch some racing. If you do happen to see me in the pits, feel free and stop and talk to me. I absolutely love talking to people. I love getting to know people. I'm the one with the obnoxiously bright red hair and probably about a mile of cord behind me. That brings us to the end of our show. I hope to see you on the track either Thursday or Friday. If not, I hope I can catch you back here Sunday at noon.